So welcome to Social Media Breakfast Madison. So our focus is education and networking. We're working on increasing the networking part of it so you get a little bit more time to talk to each other. We know that the getting your breakfast and checking in is pretty much where that happens, and then maybe sometimes after the event, and we're looking to reformat a little bit so there's a bit more of the face-to-face with each other. When do we meet? Third Wednesday of every month. We try to change up the location so that we can highlight the great places to meet here in Madison. We are always looking for new places to host. So if you are interested or have space available to us that would hold 200 or 300 people, please do talk to one of us in the black shirts with the logos. If you'd like to sponsor, so you'd like to help pay for the breakfast or any other aspect of this, we're definitely interested to talk to you. If you'd like to volunteer, we always need extra sets of hands. So this is our team. I'm Tony Rodriguez. I'm the immediate past president. I just stepped down from the role of president, and Lance Rates, is Lance in the crowd here? He is our new president. That's Lance over there. Talk to that guy if you want to do anything really cool for us. Jeff Powers is not here today. He's typically the person behind the camera. Today we have somebody from YP Week, and I don't know the name of the company, but I see a logo. Magic. So we're actually live streaming today. So somebody's watching me stammer over all of these things. This is where you can follow and engage with us. I will just kind of skip past that so we can give Wendy a chance to talk here. Next month, we're actually going to let Jeff, our videographer, entertain you and educate you about podcasting. So I have seen the shorter version of this, and it is really good. And if you are interested at all in podcasting for your company, this is one you don't want to miss. July 15th, Alder Maurice Cheeks. Is anybody familiar with him? One person knows him for sure. If you'd like to follow him on Twitter, that's his Twitter handle, MoCheeks. I've met him in person. He's a really interesting guy. So that's our July speaker. We're looking for venues for both June and July. So if anybody is interested and has space, please let us know. In August, we'll have Nate Mole, who's the social media guy for UW-Madison Athletics. So when we were just recently following the basketball stuff, he was the guy behind that. He's the thumbs of UW-Madison, as Mike Walsh. This is our hashtag for today and every meeting. This is where I give a plug for our sponsors. I will call up the premier sponsors. You typically know who you are, but Madison College, if there's somebody in the crowd, Dream Bank, Noah Woolman, who's our photographer today, of course Turner Hall, our host, and then what didn't end up on this intro slide because I forgot to give it to Mike, is Schwinn is here, and they've given us some giveaways and a nice present for Wendy as well. So we've got an ongoing survey with Social Media Breakfast, so we're trying to gather feedback and see what we can do better. One of the pieces of feedback is make the intro not so long, so next time it probably won't be. I just wanted to make sure that we gave proper due to Wendy and our sponsors this month, and then we're going to work on trimming this back. So it's smbmad.org/survey. And I have to give a little bit more of an intro than what's on the screen because those of you that don't know Wendy, that probably haven't been here from the start, but Wendy is our co-founder. So in February 2009, I attended my first Social Media Breakfast event. It was the second event ever. I hadn't missed an event after that. I think I've missed 3 since then. But we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for Wendy. So aside from the really interesting things she's going to share with today, I think we really need to give her a hand for starting this whole group. So thank you. Well, and then of course, as Wendy's doing this motion, she's saying thank them, because really we need to thank you. I mean, we wouldn't be here if we didn't have the attendees and we didn't have the speakers and the sponsors. And so certainly we've done a little bit of work behind the scenes, but the momentum really comes from the audience. So thanks, and I'm going to hand it over to Wendy.
Well, it's very nice to be here. If it weren't for social media, I probably wouldn't have started Social Media Breakfast. If it hadn't been for social media, I wouldn't have met Marvick and leased office space from her as I floated around between Yola's and Marvick's east and west side of town. And I actually wouldn't have the position I have today, which is working for a global industrial manufacturer in Cleveland, Ohio, of all places. Oh, that's right. Okay. So thanks to social media, again, for the start of this group, for meeting Maravik Valencia, who we co-founded this just because we were brainstorming in our co-op office space. And as I said, I'm working for Parker Hannifin because I reached out to connect with their global e-business director, thinking maybe I could do some consulting work with him. 2 days later, he called me and said, we don't need a consultant, we need you to apply for this job. All right, and the rest was history. I kept asking my husband, do you really, what do you think about Cleveland? What do you think about me being in Cleveland, kind of thing? One of the challenges of working with an industrial B2B is I actually had to teach everybody what social media was, and I had to actually develop my own chart, what social media is for engineers. We get some chuckles out of this, out of the engineering guys that are there, and our marketing team, which is a very traditional by experience, because they really have not had the need to do social media in the scope of their marketing work. I wanted to share a little bit about me because if you do connect with me, I do bike a lot. I bike even more out in Cleveland. I'm a twin. I live up in Lodi. So if you connect with me on sites other than LinkedIn, you'll find that I play it really safe because I'm business social everywhere. And I am very cautious and careful about representing a large global manufacturer, as you all should be as you work and do social media for the companies that you own or the companies that you work for. Once you do their social media, you have to put a different mindset on, and you do have to be careful because the reputation of that organization is in your hands. My goal is not to have Parker Hannifin show up on somebody's failed social media approaches as we move forward globally, because we play in 50 countries and we have 150 divisions across the world, and it's a lot of responsibility. I wanted to, how many people have even heard of Parker Hannifin before? Oh, this is good. I have a video that I would like to play just so you guys, those that didn't raise their hands, get a sense of who Parker is, and you will actually also get a sense perhaps of the challenges I faced in doing social media and coming up with a blog approach.
Solving the world's greatest engineering challenges. A formidable mission. And for close to 100 years, it's how Parker has helped customers become more productive and profitable. More efficient energy generation. Clean water. Medical advances. Advanced infrastructure and transportation. Safer food supplies. Defense technologies, and protecting our environment. These are the challenges that drive Parker people forward, everywhere. Parker is the world's leading premier diversified manufacturer of motion and control technologies and systems. 60,000 people working in 48 countries, 13,000 distributor locations, customers in 104 countries, a global retail network of more than 2,000 Parker stores and 3,000 service points, all supporting nearly 900,000 products, with comprehensive online information and personalized assistance. That's quite an economic and social impact on the world. We've come a long way since 1918, when Arthur Parker began our legacy of innovation. The Parker Appliance Company was focused on serving customers to drive the evolution and expansion of our technologies across the full spectrum of motion and control systems. It's that same ambition that continues to drive Parker today. It's a way to succeed, a way to win. Today, Parker can be found on and around everything that moves. From a broad platform of technologies, we manufacture highly engineered components and systems that facilitate motion and the controlled flow of liquids and gases for a wide variety of global markets to increase our customers' productivity and profitability. keep innovation in motion by focusing our collective efforts on developing new to the world and new to the market opportunities. Safer, more productive, microscopic, monumental, brand new. We call this process Winnovation. Operating in harmony with the WIN strategy, our focus on sustainable business practices creates a better future for everyone. It's clear that as we align our efforts with the essential needs of humanity, Parker is making a positive impact on the world we share. So we continue to innovate and become increasingly productive while reducing the demand on vital, limited resources. It's a challenge for generations to come. Our success is critically connected to an empowered workforce known for their operational excellence, working in an environment that is open and supportive. We encourage and trust our employees to pursue ideas, and when we win, achievements are recognized and global career progression opportunities are endless. Seen through our wide lens of motion and control, the world presents a vast number of problems yet to be solved. This is where we choose to make a meaningful difference. Together with our partners, solving the world's greatest engineering challenges.
All right, so perhaps when you see all of that, and if you can appreciate that I am the social media department, at least almost 3 years ago when I came to Parker, that was a challenge. All of that, and how do we get Parker on social? How do we manage it? How do we scale it? One of the reasons I took over some social media accounts that existed, but one of the things that we looked at was how do we move people through our buying journey? So I hope that those people who are in the manufacturing space or even consumer space, that you're considering this is a real important piece to know what your buyer's journey is and where they move through the cycle, but also to understand, just like everything else, we've probably been hit with it a little slower than the consumer space, but they are doing that investigation online before they ever call you. All right. So when we're looking at this, we say 60% of that time, 60% of the effort before they call you is done online. With engineers, I think it's even more so because they don't like to talk to people. And I am an engineer, but they don't like to talk to people. They want to do their own research. They want to dig into stuff. If they can't find it online, they move on, just as we see in our own personal interactions. So one of the reasons we are working very hard on our blogs is because we can fill the gap of information very easily with the blogging space. If you look at other components of not just the steps in a buying journey, but the awareness phase, the consideration, when someone's ready to purchase, and their preference for a product, their brand advocacy. Again, when you take a look at blogging, you can cover and create content in various formats that hit every step of that journey. So it's somewhat a slam dunk when you are resource constrained, time constrained, and we may have 60,000 employees, but our marketing teams are very limited and they're very dispersed. Parker is centrally led in Cleveland, but we're very decentralized control, and the control is held at our divisions. In fact, one of our division marketing team members is here from what used to be Silog here in Madison, which was purchased by our Dominic Hunter division, and so she's the team of one for that group here in the United States working on stuff. So it's really important to really investigate, how do we do this? None of us have any more time than, I only got 24 hours in a day. Parker's got me for 18 and I sleep for 4 or 5, okay? So I hope everybody is out checking out your audience. Our audience is engineers. We did a lot of investigation on the kinds of information that they were researching online. We had a good grasp of our target audience. We did personas, all the good, solid, traditional marketing stuff you should be doing your creative briefs, your personas, who are you talking to, what do they want to see and hear. I mentioned we're a global organization, so we also had a validate to ourselves and our executive team that people in our countries, our regional areas, were also receptive to this kinds of things. And so we did document that. North America, China is one of our biggest growth areas. Germany is our largest country that we're doing business in today outside of the US. All these countries do indeed allow their engineering teams to go out and read blogs and research white papers and gather that data online. Interesting enough, Parker-Hannifin is a very closed network, meaning that about LinkedIn is what the majority of our people can access through our corporate network, which is a big challenge when we're saying, hey, go look and see what's on our Twitter page, and they can't see it. It's slowly opening up. If our e-business team had, we'd want to see our whole company opened up, but you can't move a large organization that quickly, and there are security issues and training and so forth. But at least other people are accessing, and blogs are a little bit different story than trying to go to a Twitter account. As I said, Parker is a huge organization, multifaceted. Sometimes we refer to ourselves a little bit of a Frankenstein, all these pieces and divisions and companies put together, all these various technologies, and it takes a while to move it. I've been doing this for 3 years. When I came on board, my social media, my global connections who are deeply immersed in social were all worried about how slow we were moving, or how slow I was moving and getting things started, and I said, the good thing about the industrial manufacturing space is we do move slowly. We have the benefit of looking at what's happened in the business-to-consumer space. You don't see too many social media fails talking about an industrial manufacturer. And we hope there aren't, because we should learn from the mistakes. As I tell all our teams, there's nothing that Parker-Hannifin ever does that necessitates a live tweet from a phone. Anything we do can wait until you get back to a computer, review it, look at pictures and things like that. So we got to move. We considered all of these key things. My first year or so, we're looking on strategy. We're trying to get to understand the organization. You do really have to understand how do you go to market and how does the market perceive you. So our strategy for blogging is really built around the technologies. We try on our blogs not to mention Parker, and that's sort of an education piece I do, but we're talking about key product categories, and it's really keyword focused around the general things that our customers would be searching for. But it really aligns with how we go to market, both in country and outside of the US, as well as by our distributors and so forth. The two hardest things I'm dealing with are training and execution. As I said, I'm one person kind of kicking this off and moving that. That means I have to bring the tools on board. I have to understand the tools. I have to run the pilots. I have to figure out how that scales, how we send it off and expose it to all of Parker, and then how do we get that training done for people. So those are by far the two hardest things I'm working on, and they're the two most important things, especially if you're resource constrained. How do you execute? Do you hire outside consultants? Do you do it yourself? Do you virtualize your team? Meaning, Lori, my colleague here that's from Madison, I'm training her to use the blog so that they can blog and generate and publish themselves on their own RSS feed, still on one platform. But if I can't help her and give her access to tools and manage that risk, then I'll be the bottleneck, and that's what we're trying to avoid. So empowering our marketing teams, empowering our engineers and application engineers is a really important part of the strategy and figuring this out. And it's not easy because we hit a lot of walls. Why are we even doing it? Parker has a huge website. We get 750,000 hits a month on our website, and we want to leverage that. But they're not all coming to look at product. Sometimes they are. Again, large enterprise website, all our countries are all on the same domain. It's very large, it's very confusing. So one of the reasons to start a blog was to give us some more SEO juice, to have people find Parker stuff without knowing they were looking for Parker. If they get to the website, they know they're looking for Parker. But outside of that, we wanted to have a different way. We also, Parker knows, and our Parker engineers know a ton of things. we have in these 9 different technology areas, and we were the worst at telling our own story. So the blog is really helping us get our engineers to talk a little bit about the challenges they face. Once we get it online and it's public, it's a whole lot easier to share. Again, as I said, one person. Do you realize there's so many people to call to get that story to say, can you give me a tweet? And they don't even understand what Twitter is. So our path of least resistance is to let them write the stories, get it up on a public purview, and then I can make use of, between myself and even some very specific outside agencies for help, they can take that publicly available that's already been vetted by the engineers, by Parker, and cleaned up. They can take that and expand our reach into social. And it is getting us leads. That's the exciting part that our teams are very thrilled with. Our first team to start has probably got 5 or 6 leads from this, and not for a $500 part, but for $50,000, $100,000 projects that have generated from blog posts that were done. So that's the name of the game. Our goal is to get people to find the stories, get them back to Parker as a lead gen opportunity for our very diverse teams. I can tell you that just last year at this time was the first time that Parker even showed that we had a social, we were on social. It was a very soft sell. We put it on one page, afraid we would have too much success, that I'd be answering too many tweets from everybody. So that was an important stage in promoting our blogs. We didn't do that until our blogs were ready and that we had sufficient content in every category, so if someone came to the blog, they said, oh, they're really blogging. Turn on a blog with nothing there is a very bad approach. My theory is it's a theory of 3s. In any category you want to talk about or have on your blog, have 3 things in it. People look at 1, 2, 3, and then they might leave. But they've gotten through 3 and they think, and again, fake it until you make it kind of thing, but keep generating the content, but don't turn it on until you have at least 3 in every category that you want to talk to or you're an expert on. If you've got more, power to you, but 3 is a number I think is really important. Make sure you have your online content networking policies in place, and specifically write a commenting policy that applies to your social media and your blogs. And it's for your employees, and also to document on your blog that you have a commenting policy, so you're very transparent when you're going to delete a comment. All right, if it's not on topic, we don't publish any comments that include a link, because we get a lot of spammers coming in. So we monitor all those, and we have a public policy that says we don't post comments that have links in them. And I usually send an email back and ask them to rewrite and delete the link. And if they don't, then we don't publish it. So that's really important it also guides your employees when they comment on other people's blogs, because that's part of thought leadership as well. Your subject matter experts that are writing for your blogs should also be very active in commenting on blogs of other industry leaders. And they should also be guided by the same kind of policy, that how they say it, what they refer to, including ethics. And if you're a publicly held company, which Parker is, that's a very important reminder on social and blogging and commenting. Is you got to be careful of IP, ethics, and public information. We're everywhere we should be today here in the U.S. I mean, this is something I generally manage, so I'm the lead on these platforms. We have a couple of beta sites, like we are on Instagram, we are on Pinterest, still trying to figure out how you scale that. It's really hard to scale a mobile-only posting app. And we just realized when your Sweden team says we'd like to post those pictures on Instagram, and they're giving it to you in Swedish and you can't retype it in Swedish from your US phone, that's the scaling problem we run into that we've got to deal with. And so, strategy. You don't use the same strategy for blogging or for social when you get started as you do when you're at the top of the mountain. We have 4 key focus areas that we're engaged in: marketing and marketing outreach, customer service and support and extending that, and leading the motion and control conversation. And the blog really deals with leading the motion and control, conversation and discussion. And we want to talk about the things that we have answers to. And managing it with a blog also enables us not to get into the arbitrary discussions and kind of questions that you see on social. That's just generally people upset with their husband's work hours post on our Facebook page and ask, well, why can't you change this? But on a blog where we're providing a content and body of information, we can control the comments, we can control how we word it and everything. And quite honestly, for a company like Parker, global enterprise, engineered, very controlled in the past, this is a big step for them to start a blog. And we had a lot of discussions about the control issue and how to ease up and be comfortable with little phases of extension. We go to market, so everything, it's Parker, it's a Parker brand, even all our divisions and everything, it's a big Parker brand. We kind of steer our teams through, got to get your website information. Website's the home base, so you got to get your product and content information there. We always, from our blog, send them back to product pages, to division pages, to more detail, support information that is located on our blog. If some of you are using software as a service, and if those platforms allow you to upload a PDF to their platform, I would recommend you not to do that. Because if you decide to change platforms, as I said, what you use today because it works with your skill set, resources, or your budget, you may choose to change in the next year or two. And if that happens, and all of your PDFs are on the remote platform and not located on your website that you own and control, you will be spending a lot of time downloading and re-uploading and connecting all those links. So one of the things we've done, we are actually using outside software as a service platform in this stage. We will be moving our blog over to another platform in a year, but all our core content is sitting on, and everybody's pointing back to our parker.com for storage. So you don't think about it right away because you think it's a nice feature, but if you're thinking about growing and scaling, it doesn't work to leave all those PDFs. It really doesn't even work to leave your pictures there. So if you have a digital asset management where your pictures are stored that you can pull from to your blog, that's also a recommendation. Now, we didn't do it because we didn't have a digital asset management platform in place at the time we started the blog, but when we move, that's what's going to happen. So if they want, we don't let them go to social first. We say, no, you have to blog. We have to tell them, the big thing is on social, what are you going to say every day on Twitter, on Facebook, or whatever? If they can't figure out how to blog once a month and contribute an article once a month on the blog, they are absolutely not ready to be in the social space. And we're finding the teams that I'm going to do blog, we're going to do it once a week. And I said, I only will let you commit for once a month. That's all you have to do from your whole team. So we'll go to a group and say, you have 15 divisions. All we need is one team, one division contributing once every 15 weeks. That's all you need to sign them up for, because otherwise it's too much work in their heads. So we've been able to sort of step into this. How often do you have to contribute? Because I'll show you later, at full force, if all my divisions and all my teams were actually blogging once a week, I'd be putting out 36 to 45 posts a day across our blog, which would be great, but I really have to cipher it and separate it in order not to overwhelm someone who subscribed at our highest level. I like this quote. A couple of researchers said it, but how do you put a human voice? We're a corporate blog. All right, this is not individuals. That's a big difference here. We're a corporate blog trying to give people an individual voice, but at the end of the day, everybody who puts something on this blog, it has Parker's reputation at stake, and it's important for us to look at it. So we created and started with technology blogs. We said, what are our 9 core technologies? And that's what we showcased. We didn't turn this on until we had 3 written components for each one of those technology areas. Since then, a couple have not done any more than the first 3. They're still trying to get and figure it out with their system. And a number of ours have really taken off and are posting 2 to 3 times a month. So we've had some good uptake in that blog. Big decision. So how many people actually blog today? Personally. So first personally. And how many people blog on behalf of their company? All right, good. So the big decision is, do I put people's names as a byline? Do I just put a corporate name? Do I put 1, 2? How do we do that? So our decision was not to allow individual bylines. People come and go. Parker's a big company. We felt that that turnover would be, might be very extreme or not, but it was a decision point that had we not changed it and said, how do we make a team approach on this blog? Because as I said, we're divided. We have operating groups. Within each operating group, there's anywhere from 10 to 20 divisions that could contribute. All have different products. So how do I give them a voice? So we've gone and we created team. We did a team approach, but we did look at how would we do it as an individual? How would we do it as a group? And what if we did it just as bland, just as a Parker blog, and it was always generic, you never knew who it was or anything like that? Well, we really threw out the last decision because our divisions and our operating groups are so different, they wouldn't buy into that. The executive team didn't like the individual approach. So we have what we consider a hybrid version where we've broken up into teams, and we do document, if the team wants to, we document the actual individual contributor on every post. Build your governance and framework, which means you got to tell, in my world, no one knows how to blog, all right? Everybody thinks it's an advertorial, a chance for an advertorial. So that's a big training opportunity for me to educate people on how to step away from your marketing brochure and write a story. And it's a slow process. It's hard for teams. Some teams have picked up on it right away. Other teams are still struggling. And then we have our global teams that some are, and we have the same disparity. Some are really good at it. Some countries are really good at it, and some are not. So that's an important aspect of it. You do go through all the same marketing things. You've got to know who you're talking to. You've got to figure out the personas of your target audience. And if you have multiple target audiences, then you're going to have to write differently for different people. And it's okay to do it all in one blog. And you can see that quite obviously across the Parker one. We do have a publisher guide, so we broke it up. We have people who contribute, who are the team contributors who write the content. We have editors who upload it and get it all cleaned up. And then we have publishers who really are the people who have the full brand reputation in mind when they decide to hit the publish and make that blog live. It's not me, although I help out with that and train them. But they are responsible. They're the designated felon at the end of the day, so to speak. When something goes wrong, we look at the publisher and say, why did you publish that? We spend a lot of time talking about what to write about. Parker has a lot of stories, as all of you do, I'm sure. But when faced with having to put it down on a sheet of paper, get it out, all of a sudden everybody has a total mind blank about how they would write it. So we've suggested, for some of the teams we've engaged some freelance writers to help them through their thinking process. Sometimes they're really good at writing technical white papers, but we use freelancers to break them up into blog posts. Some of the teams have a marketing person who's very comfortable with writing the blog post themselves. So we're very flexible and have allowed for different approaches on how to get it written. And we're expanding. So if someone's given a presentation, I do suggest you can put your presentation, record it, transcribe it. There's your blog post. And it really gets some of our engineers over the mindset that I'm not a writer. And so I'm not going to go into all the details, but these are some of our approaches that you can take with the blog. And when you think about what your audience might be looking for, they want to be educated. They're looking for something that will help them solve their problem at their place of work. They want to be more successful. They're not looking for a sales pitch. So you have to be really mild. And our approach has been, ideally, we're taking an 8-1-1 approach. All right? 8 educational posts before you do a hard sell or a soft sell. And that's a hard number to manage, and I'm like an iron fist most of the time, until they do it in German and I can't read it, and I have to ask someone else to tell me, was that a hard sell that was in German or not? So I don't manage the global blogs. We have other people in our regional location who speak that language and help with that review process. But it's important to go through this process and say, what's easy for your team to get started with? If frequently asked questions is the easy topic, start with frequently asked questions. If another team has a lot of videos, then figure out how to transcribe videos and get those as blog posts. Someone else is a good interviewer, ask 5 questions, type up the questions. There's quite a different level of approach. The approach we have not taken, which is somewhat recommended, is a curated approach. So one of the things we said is it doesn't serve our purpose as a thought leader if we go out and find other people's articles and just reshare them on our blog with our little paragraph of opinion. That's certainly a way to do it, but that was not our suggested approach to our team. We needed to get all our subject matter experts vested immediately in writing their own content and Parker content, not curated. We may add that at a later date. But right now, it's not a high priority for us at all. For other people, it may be the perfect way for you to start. We believe, so our approach, I said, was teams, and we make it very transparent on every post who the actual contributor is. We link back to his division. We want people to find them. We don't put links out to third-party social sites, however. Meaning we don't put their link to their LinkedIn platform, but we fully expect people will search for our authors out on LinkedIn, and that's before they become an author and a contributor, they have to clean up their LinkedIn profile. It has to be Parkerized, so it looks good for themselves and for Parker, and I work with them on that. So although we don't do a lot of linking out to third-party sites from other than our social page, we do recognize that people will go there, and that's an important aspect. If you're going to go with a byline from an individual, or if you're going to include their name, make sure your authors, if you search for your authors online, you find the good stuff. You find their LinkedIn profile, and they've done a good job on setting it up. If they're on social, they're looking good, and if they have a second persona for themselves, make sure you separate what's the work persona, if you have to, from the business persona. Or you get a commitment from them to be business social, and they clean everything up. This is a really, really important aspect of blogging. If you're going to go a personal byline or even mentioning your authors, you do have in your hands the reputation of your company. And so you have to do everything that you can to make sure that the people that are speaking on behalf of your company look good. HubSpot, you do more posts, and your traffic goes up, both to your blog and to your website. We're clearly seeing that right now. I took a snapshot from early in, this is some 2014 results about our volume as we kept posting and brought more people on and did more posts, what our traffic looked like, what our social searches and referrals, all of that was looking out. We have not done a lot of email marketing utilizing our blog posts. We were training people on our email marketing program, which is Eloqua. It's a full-fledged enterprise marketing automation, and now that everybody have really got vested in how to use that, we're starting to see more people actually incorporating email newsletters, incorporating the blog posts that they did for the month. So we expect to see that number rise. But we're all Parker likes to see numbers going up. And so our traffic, our views are all going up month over month. And we do see direct correlation. If we're doing anywhere from 10 to 20 blog posts a month across our platform, it goes out on Twitter. If we do a consistent social promotion of it, our numbers are looking really good. Our technology blogs were doing so well, we wanted to find a way to get the softer side of Parker out there as well. We have an intranet where we did stories just for employees. So our next approach was then to take the softer side of Parker and get it on the public internet. So we clean up and go through those stories and clean them up for public consumption, and those stories go out. So they're more investor relation type of stories, or community and volunteering stories about what's happening with our employees across the globe. It's been also another very successful launch. out there, and like I said, it's all our teams globally contribute to that one, and any of our teams actually, if a country opens up, they actually look at what we've done in English and translate. If they're looking for content, they're free to translate any of our public US content if it applies for them in their country. And we started our global team members were getting excited about our blog, and our first one to launch was Netherlands. Our Dutch guys are very active. They are our pilot country, so they have a full social media presence, including a blog. Denmark just recently came online. I'm not always good at telling the difference between Danish and Dutch sometimes. I'm getting better at that. Korea, we're blogging in double byte characters. And Germany, and then we've just had a recent request from Brazil for Portuguese, and Mexico for doing blogging in Spanish. So in the next quarter, we'll have those launched. So it is, people are seeing some value in it. They want to tell their story and localize it, and that's an important part of the strategy. And our scaling is, how do we allow them to have a voice, and how is it different than the corporate speak or the corporate or the US blogs? So they're free to change those up and work with divisions to write the stuff that's appropriate for them. What's next? Now that everybody had actually something to show, we've allowed them, and they now are promoting it on their page with links directly to their blogs. This gets, instead of us just promoting, getting people back to our website, now we have people who are coming to our website that are going to the blog, and we're seeing those numbers jump since these links were done. As I told you, some people would do all of this right away. Parker moves very slowly. Did I say we were engineers? We move very methodically. We're very operation focused. We believe in process. So we do these pilots to check everything out, and then we build a workflow and a process, and we operationalize it so that whether you give it to a country or a division, they can reproduce the success. We just started trying to, our website is very complicated, and trying to find a way to bring a live RSS feed onto a website that just has a weekly refresh was a bit challenging, but we found some tools, some widgets that did work with our platform, and so any of our teams that want to have a live feed on any of their pages now can put a live RSS feed from their blog. I should point out that because we're so different, we have 134 different RSS feeds on our blog. We create a separate RSS feed for every team, for every category, to allow very specific, very niche topics to have an RSS feed that's unique. As I said, at full force, we might be putting out 36 blog posts a day or a week on our main Parker Hannafin RSS feed. Not too many people would want to get that RSS feed. Our Twitter handle likes it very much. It puts everything out there. But for individuals, for our Dominic Hunter group, who has a focus on the bioprocessing and pharmaceutical industry, they don't want to get the stuff on hydraulics. They're very niche, so we've allowed for them to have their topics, very narrow, very niche, and that RSS can be on their page. This is important as you talk about how to scale. Can you do that? Will your platform allow you to get that granular? Because it might be important to your teams, or they'll just say, forget it. Or even worse, in our case, they go out and say, I'm going to build my own blog, and they'll put it on some other platform somewhere else that is not managed by Parker. And that's something that we spend a lot of time on turning off after the fact. As I said, we use Eloqua, and now we're starting to build our blog platform integrates with our marketing automation platform, so we can send the blog thumbnails directly over and set them up in an email campaign so that it makes it really easy between creating the blog, creating an email, and sending it out to your list of contacts to promote what you've written, even if they don't subscribe to the blog. And we're also built a lot of landing pages that go hand in hand with our marketing promotions, and those landing pages also accept our blogs, our videos, and things like that. So we're really building more and more as our teams learn, more integrated campaign, using the blog, using landing pages, using the full marketing suite and all the channels that we have available. So that's kind of in a nutshell. One of the things I've learned with working for a large company is, there's a lot of things I can't say to tell you, but I might be able to take whatever questions you ask about what it's like either doing the social media for Parker, because I am the one that generally, if you say something on Twitter, I'm the one that responds. If you say something on Facebook, I'm the one that responds at this point in time. And LinkedIn, on the main Parker pages, I'm the one that responds to comments and things like that. So if you have questions related to blog, if you have some questions about platform, I can answer that. If you have questions about broader social, or living in Cleveland, which is really cool. Carrie. The commenting policy? Yeah, actually, I was going to say there's a link to it. Yeah, the blogging policy. I have to, we just updated it, and so we turned the link off. There's a link from our blog to our commenting policy. It's turned off right now because we were going through edits and legal review. But I'll make a note to myself to do that and send it to Tony, and he can send it out to people. It's nothing, it's pretty basic, it's very legal and reviewed, it's general, but it does, the important thing on social or whatever is to cover yourself when you have to remove something. So you're trying to prevent backlash. So if someone says something nasty and you have said nowhere on your Facebook profile or anywhere else, even with a link back to a social media policy on your website, that these are the kinds of things you remove that are inappropriate, that aren't allowed, and you remove it, you can cause backlash. All right, so that's an important thing to document. For instance, when something happened on a page, one of the executives called and asked for it to be removed, and I said, well, it's technically not against the policy that's visible today, and if you would like that removed, here's what I suggest. Let's post 20 things today or whatever, let's get it off the main page. I will send a personal message out to that individual to say that's, it doesn't fit our policy, or here's a thing, and notify them that would they like to remove it because it doesn't comply, otherwise I might have to remove it, and I just wanted to start a personal dialogue before we did that. So it's always my goal to be as transparent as you can about what your rules are. So if you remove things, you can just say, hey, but our policy said that. Our social media, our commenting policy, we don't allow that. Repeat it as many times as possible. But don't do things just because you didn't like it. And quite honestly, we ran into this where someone posted a picture on our Facebook page, and it was a labor relations issue, and we had a big discussion about just removing it. And I said, perfectly legal. Even legal will say it's legal to do that. So we made a decision, all or nothing. We do not allow public wall posts by people on the Parker Hannafin pages for a couple reasons. We can't manage it. One person really reviewing all these things, trying to catch things in different time zones, it's really difficult. So we had to reflect what we can resource. Same reason on the blog. You have to look and say, do I have someone 24/7, 365 days a year who fully knows all the responsibilities of the company? And if you don't have that, then you have to make some different kinds of decisions about what you can put into play because of what you yourself or what your team can manage.
You said you're using Eloqua for your email platform, but you're also using HubSpot?
No, I love HubSpot. Wonderful company, great information, great charts and everything. We have a very robust content management system we use IBM WebSphere for our e-commerce platform. We're certainly outgrown whatever HubSpot would do. Yeah, I like their information as a general rule. When you're talking to small, mid-sized businesses, they have a great information and a great tool that might be usable to them. And what they say about blogging and information is certainly echoed whether you're a small business or as an enterprise company starting a blog. The numbers are right on. So I like to use them and pitch them as well. Okay, so Eloqua is a full marketing automation platform. It provides ability, and Lori, you're using it, but you segment your people, you can build landing pages, you do email, you manage your email list. One thing it doesn't do is it doesn't have a functioning RSS email subscription feed, because we would like to tie that and have our blog and Eloqua tied together. Right now we use Compendium is our blogging platform. It was a more enterprise-ready blogging platform, was recently bought by Oracle. Eloqua was recently bought by Oracle. We expect to see then, and they've already started some tighter integrations between those two platforms. But Marketo is another one. I mean, these are bigger platforms and maybe at a range that many of you would not be able to do. Which is another plus about working for a very large company, is also in some of these very large platforms I'd always heard about and everything, I get to use, see, touch, and really experience what it's like at the big level. And yet I was using smaller platforms, and you can kind of see they're not always easier or better, believe me. They're not as flexible as some fast, WordPress for getting a blog up and going is great. We couldn't apply that. We needed something already built, already managed, that had more of what we needed right out of the box than building it ourselves, because that's not always the answer, building it yourself.
I'm wondering about connections to earned media. That would be the journalists and all of that, and the people who write the trade magazines.
Yes.
Do you talk to them individually, maybe get things started with a few personal emails, or do you just start with...
Oh, I'm Twitter friends with many of them. So, if you want a close loop between social media, trade pub, again, large company, trade pubs are our friends, and we've always written stories for the trade pubs and everything, and that is something that's not going to stop. Let me assure you, we like working with the trade press. They serve a very important role with a very targeted audience for our stories to go into. But that doesn't mean Parker owns those stories. And so what we've changed our legal copyright information. So when we write stories for the trade press, we have new legal agreement that says we own the copyright and we are allowed to publish that on any Parker property. All right? Now, we're very willing to say, you'd like to be the first, so we can say, yes, you're exclusive. Design World, you are the exclusive. You get that story first. We're not going to sell that story, but we are going to publish it on the Parker blog in various formats, the way we wrote it, not your edited version, but we'll publish the story however we want. It's our thought leadership, our content. We'll republish it. We might have an agreement that it'll go up first, it'll go up 30 days later. That's to be worked out, but we will always retain the right to publish our own content. Now, we tweet, we let them know, we have direct relationships. Our PR agencies who work with the different divisions continue about their same effort to pitch the stories to the media journalists, just as they always have. But this is a new nuance. And most of the trade press are all starting blogs or putting those stories up online. So the issue that comes up is who owns the original story, because Google sees the first publisher as the owner and everything else is bad. So we just have to work on the issue of who puts it up first, how do we change it, versus what's online as a digital copy from their magazine. And we're very cautious on guest bloggers, Parker people being guest bloggers for the trade. Because we also want to recapture that thought leadership back on Parker.com and our blog. Steve.
Wendy, thanks for being here today.
Yep.
So Parker's a global company. Can you talk about just one thing maybe that you've learned from your marketing people in Europe or Asia regarding social media in the engineering industry?
Yeah. Europeans are much more private than the U.S. They don't really like being on social media very much. The few that I know have had significant Americanized influence on them or have worked for global companies before, but actually I find that personally, as individuals, they don't spend a lot of time or do much on social. Now, that's aside from the whole group of people I know and I'm connected with who are social media professionals in Europe. But my business colleagues, I would say, are relatively hesitant. It's much newer there to consider using social media than here in the U.S. I have, they're more interested in blogging, but again, they're also used to traditional thinking of it more as an advertorial and putting I get a lot of product news pages or product feature things they want to put on the blog, and it's an education process to say, no, that's not what we want to do. That's not the right approach. Let's approach it differently. Let's look at a case study. So it is distinctly different in that regard. There's also a couple different platforms. So in China, we use Weibo, is the platform our Parker China team uses in China. We can't embed YouTube videos because YouTube is closed, so on their platform, we use our Parker server, video server, and embed videos from our Parker server so people can access it. So, I mean, you got to think, what's happening in that country and what can they get to? And just because YouTube's easy to do and what we consider prolific here, not in China, if you want to get views and exposure. Having said that, I can tell you that LinkedIn, as a social platform, is really pushing very hard out of country. So they've approached, and we've started a LinkedIn, a Parker Hannafin page for Greater China. For our recruitment efforts there, our teams here in the U.S. certainly are looking at the value of LinkedIn, and structurally we have some decisions we make about how we view and put ourselves together here in the U.S., but our countries, based on our strategy, have the ability to go, as long as they're posting in another language. So we don't want our teams in Brazil to post in English, because then they're conflicting with our US and everything we do in English. So they want to blog in Portuguese and tweet in Portuguese, they can do it. If the Germans can figure out how to make shorter tweets, with all those words, they can be on Twitter. So it's really, we're really forcing our teams to think carefully about what they can do and understand that if they don't have a vested gut knowledge about social, regardless of what country, teaching them it is not just a marketing promotion and a tweet and pushing our message out the way we would do an ad, because that's a fail in any country. We're re-educating. We're trying to put some online classes together to readjust the thinking of our existing employees. And I did want to mention from the Young Professionals Week here, one of the things that I'm actually surprised at as I see our new engineers come in and we have a heavy recruiting campus, I don't know whether they just don't want to admit it, or I am surprised by the number of young college recruit, new people coming into Parker who haven't been blogging themselves in any way, aren't familiar with core platforms that any company should be using. So my advice is, we are not, just like typing, does anyone teach typing anymore? I mean, we expect people, when they get hired to come in, they're going to be given a computer, they better know how to type on a computer, right? Who has a secretary anymore to type stuff? So social media skills broadly are going to be an expectation of anybody coming in. We've got to train our existing employees and our 50-something employees how to use it. The benefit they have is at least they have that, they have the broader knowledge of how what they say might affect business, and they're somewhat overly hesitant. Our young professionals, I think because they're all worried about getting a job, either have totally deleted all their social interactions and don't admit it, or they're really so busy getting their degrees, they're not on social at all. But I am surprised that our new hirees are not as fully skilled in social capacity as I would like to see, because they've got to help work with our older employees and help them understand the interconnectivity between both of them. We're going to teach the younger people about business and what's right and wrong in the business situation, and we've got to teach our older employees how to use things like Twitter in the right way and change some new thinking. So there's a gap. I'm just surprised that there isn't more of that as our new employees come into play. Let me just, did you have a question? No? Anybody else?
I never heard of your company, but I'm not an engineer. And it sounds like your product line kind of touches everybody in this room in some form or fashion on the back end. So who's your biggest competitor?
Eaton Corporation is probably our largest diversified competitor. They're actually located also in Cleveland, not too far away from us. So Eaton, they cover electrical, hydraulics, many of the same core areas that Parker does. Another large competitor might be Swagelok, which is a fitting. One of our largest areas of expertise is hose and fittings. That goes in hydraulic, in the oil field world, in hydraulics. There's a Parker hose, or should be, on everything. But if someone says one, we usually would point out Eaton. Some of our largest customers are John Deere and Caterpillar. If you can imagine kind of the hose and hydraulics and the variety of equipment on those. Okay? Carrie.
You mentioned sometimes you use freelancers to help gather the stories. Definitely one of the biggest things I run into with working with engineers is they're very modest. They don't think what they did is amazing or different or whatever. Can you talk a little bit about that, finding the great context and the great stories that the company has all over?
Sometimes it's quite by accident. Lately, I've been finding for some of our teams that are on Twitter, or employees who mention something are very proud of what they did. They do it personally on Twitter and my hashtag Parker Hannafin. Find out about a ride in Norway, a bike event that our Norway team put on, where they raised 200,000 krona, which I'm not really sure how many American dollars that is. It was a lot. It was a lot, and they engaged their distributors and their customers to ride 300 miles with them for an orphanage. That story I found out about Twitter. We're trying to do better outreach internally within Parker to say we have these channels. You have to educate them on what's appropriate. Not everything that every division does is appropriate either to the larger Parker mission, to our core approach for technologies, nor the core things we're approaching from an investor relations side of the business. So for a publicly held company, that's a really important component, is we're very strategic. Things go through a review process, and we have to look at everything with a bit of a filter to say, we want our people to know about our win strategy. So innovation. In fact, today, Forbes should have a news article out about Parker and our Winnovation and the new products that we put out that are new to Parker, new to the world. On that video that you saw, the very last item was, it was an exoskeleton. So one of our great innovative devices is something called Indigo. It's a walking exoskeleton to help people who've been paralyzed from about here down, to allow them to stand up and walk. Incredible. It's not something you would think about Parker. It's a separate business unit, but it's cool stuff. And we're trying to get those stories in. We're trying to create a variety of ways for people to let us know that it's there. Granted, we're in 48, 50 countries, 150 people, 150 divisions with people all over the place. It's hard to find ways to pull it all in, whether it's an intranet, in-house email. I don't know. I don't have the answers yet because I'm not doing it well enough. We're trying to try things and figure it out. Is this the right way to do it? It works in the US. It doesn't work in Europe. How else can we do it with ideas? So I'm always trying to keep that radar up to listen to how other people have done it. One of the great things about my position now is it does allow me to connect with the Schneider Electrics, the Rockwell Automations, big global Fortune 200 companies with people in my position. When we're not direct competitors, we can sit there and chat about, how did you do it? Did you come and hit this problem, and what was your workaround to resolve it? We have that kind of discussion with Caterpillar on a regular basis. So I would encourage you to find people you can benchmark with that are your size or larger, because believe me, the big guys don't have everything figured out. And the big guys don't have, just because they're big and they're leading the industry doesn't mean you haven't solved the problem that they haven't figured out yet. And the only way to move that forward is through a benchmarking process, finding something open. Parker, I've been working on trying to get a benchmarking set with UW-Madison, because the Madison campuses and how they're structured and the freedom they give is somewhat You could align that a lot to Parker and our decentralized nature and people in different countries and everybody wanting to do their own thing. So there's some things I think we could learn from the UW and how they structured social media and how they did things, and we might be able to teach them. It's just getting the two teams together is one of my challenges. Any other questions? I would just like to thank everybody. You know, it's great to come back and see the group. And see, I made it through the whole presentation. Tony's been wonderful. I couldn't have asked for a better guy to walk into a room and say, yeah, and quite honestly, the first ask we have of him was, you got $50? Because I only bought 50 and the bill's 100. That was his first initiation into how you become a board member is you got to bring cash. And that actually didn't scare him away, and it didn't scare away Lance, whose cafe I spent so much time in working when I was doing my consulting practice. So it's a pleasure to be back to see how this has grown, and they've put so much structure in place. In some ways, I think the best thing that ever happened to Social Media Breakfast was for me to go to Cleveland. So thank you all.
So it's Christmas in Madison today, apparently, for
Yay.
Wendy. She's got her first official red SMB shirt.
I love red. It works in Ohio, too.
Yeah, your SMBMad mug. We got some special coffee from Yola's.
Coffee, I drink that a lot.
These are new. The team just got these themselves, so you've got your own hoodie. This is the Schwinn gift basket. I don't even really know what's in it. All kinds of cool Schwinn swag. That's the term.
Oh, excellent.
And I know that you had some giveaways too, so we'll give you a chance to announce those in a second. Do you know who they are? Yep. You're tweeting them? Okay. So watch Twitter. She'll tell you if you want.
All right, thank you
so
again.
thanks to Wendy. Let's give her another hand.
Thanks. You got it on time?
I think you did good.
Okay.
I'll take my watch back.
Yeah. Do that before I forget.
And then I know that Wendy can stick around for a little
Yeah,
couple minutes if you want to just ask questions too. So.
Yep. If you have any other questions, or certainly if you want to connect and give Parker some Twitter love is fine. Not too much though, then they'll get mad at me for spamming the Twitter feed on Parker Hanifin. All right, thanks.